We kick things off with a late game that we saw in the Euros. Portugal in action against Czechia. Portugal would dominate much of this game, but it would in fact be Czechia who would open the scoring. Great goal just past the hour mark to give them the lead. Portugal, they would get the equaliser 7 minutes later. Mistake from the goalkeeper. We'd see an own goal as a result to make it 1-1. It looked like Diogo Jota had scored the winner. However, Cristiano Ronaldo offside in the build-up, but in the end, Portugal would get that second. Conceição coming off the bench and replicating what his father did 24 years ago and scoring in the Euros. And in the end, it's Portugal who get the 2-1 victory. Julien Laurens joins us. We'll be hearing from Jules in a moment. But overall, Ali, Portugal deserved this. They were the better team.
They were the better team. And bottom line, they won the game. They were tested and they found a way to win the game. Now, having said all that, which is priority number one, 3 points, you start the tournament with a win. I think there is a lot more that we need to see from Portugal in this tournament if they're going to achieve the things that we think that maybe this group is capable of achieving. And one of the things that they need to achieve or need to figure out going forward is, okay, how do we set up this team to be fully successful, consistent, creative, and far more dynamic in the attack? I'm not quite sure what the role of João Cancelo is in this group. He apparently has freedom to move everywhere he wants in the midfield, or it's sort of from the left-hand side, but it is him that serves the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo in what was in the offside goal from the right-hand side. So the structure of Portugal is, let's just say, fluid at best. In being fluid, I don't think that this is a team that playing like this will be successful long-term in the tournament, because when you play against better teams, against better opposition, they will be able to find spaces. There were spaces available to Czechia who were not committing numbers forward, and still they were able to create a couple of opportunities in the second half. Score a great goal, go up 1-0. Again, we go to back to the start of the conversation. Portugal won the game. That's the thing that matters the most. But I still think that out of this game, instead of answers, I think there are more questions about Portugal than solutions, really. And so now it's up to the person that we have talked about coming into the tournament, Roberto Martinez, to figure out, okay, how do I get the best out of this group? Because this was not close to their best.
You look at it, and despite all that attacking talent that Portugal have, it was 2 mistakes, really. Yeah. Both goals.
It was, but onto Ali's point, I think Roberto Martinez has got a job with a very, very talented squad, and the bench is extremely strong, probably one of the strongest benches in the competition. But you're right, they had to sweat for it. They were making mistakes. Czechia for fun. I think the second one especially was tired legs from the defender. The goalkeeper for the first goal, Shaka, was horrendous. You know, I just think you have to take command there. We were joking off air. You were saying it was slippery, it was wet, but you've got to take the sort of defender out of the equation and just catch the ball. But I thought you'll see, or I think you'll see a lot more from Portugal. I thought they were, I mean, look at the passes today. I mean, close to 620 passes. So they were a little bit sort of slow in their possession. And listening to the comms guys today, I think they were spot on in their analysis, taking too many touches. They've got to speed their play up.
The thing for me is, and as you look at, and Ali touched on it, this Portugal team, and it just feels like an imbalance. And in the back, you've got Diaz, Pepe at 41 years old, and Mendes. And then up front, you've got Ronaldo, Leao, and Silva. And then you've got the 4 midfielders who have to make up for any deficits in the back, kind of given the age of Portugal's rear guard. Do they have also the legs to do the running of a Rafael Leao, who doesn't come back an awful lot? Ronaldo is past doing that. And so you have a very talented midfield that just seems to get stretched. And to Czechia's credit, once they were able to get past that midfield, they threatened. And that, for me, is kind of the Portuguese Achilles heel here. Once that midfield kind of gets stretched, I'm not sure that they can cope with the attack of better teams. This was a Czechia team who had their chances.
What was Cristiano Ronaldo's mark out of 10 for you, Jules?
I didn't think he was bad. There's that great back heel for Vitinha in the first half, which is a moment of brilliance. There's the header on the post. He's slightly offside, of course, but that's a good header. So I thought he did okay. Not great. He ran 9.7 kilometers, which is, of all the strikers so far in this tournament, one of the lowest. fine, because as we've explained before, this is not his role anymore. This is not his job. That's not what we ask him, to run down all the channels, all the half spaces. He just needs to stay there in the box and eventually get a good cross in, like we had to wait a long time for the Joao Cancelo one that Ali mentioned, when Cancelo went to right wing back after Gonzalo Ignacio replaced Dalot. And on a good cross, then he was there in the box in the right place. But if obviously there's not the crosses, and Leao in the first half, how many crosses for nobody? Really, it was quite baffling. So it's good to have Cristiano there. He seems in good form. He seems in good spirit. We saw that during the anthem. He had a big smile. He high-fived all the mascots before. Great, he's in good spirits. But at the end of the day, if the quality around him, especially in the crosses or the passes, the deliveries, are not good enough, there's not much more he can do anyway.
So did you give me a number, Jules?
I would go like a 6 out of 10. I think that's fair.
6 out of 10? Are we in agreement here?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me just go back to the structure of Portugal, because I think it ties up with the point of Ronaldo and his positioning on the field. If indeed he's going to stay central, which is what we expect him to do, and then you're going to depend on the service coming from wide areas, and if on the left-hand side you have Rafael Leao, when he looked active today, when he took on defenders, he seemed unstoppable, but it's too inconsistent. And too many times he settled on cutting the ball back and passing the ball backwards instead of taking on the defender. Let's just say that he stays on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, there is no presence because you're depending on Dalot to take that position. And so it's a team that, because of the way it's structured, it's kind of tilted towards the left-hand side. And so you don't have the service coming from the right. The service from the right didn't come until Cancelo switched over to the right-hand side. And this is the way the team is structured. This is the way the team, when you look at it, when you look at the players and their position, it seems Leao on the left-hand side, Ronaldo in the middle, and when you look on the right-hand side, well, it's not quite there because Bernardo Silva starts talking in here. He starts coming towards the middle. He's not staying out wide right. And so it leaves a big, big gap on the right-hand side. And there is no service coming from the right-hand side. So they become far more predictable. And if indeed Ronaldo is not going to run from the middle out to wide areas, then where is that width coming from? Who's providing that width? And if you don't have that width, then everything collapses towards the middle and it's easier to defend.
Bernardo Silva was, or is, a magnificent player. But to Ali's point, you ask him to play that right side position. We saw for his chance, didn't we? When he tried to cross it on his right foot. Left foot, he probably pulls the trigger and has a shot on target. Trying to cut it back on his right foot, it's difficult. Rafa Leao is a player that I've watched and commentated on so many times, and he drives me up the wall because I don't think I've ever seen a player so talented can drive you up the wall in terms of his final ball. He dived when he didn't need to dive and got a yellow card, completely unnecessary. I thought the one player, in my opinion, who I thought was magnificent today was Vitinha in the middle of the park. I thought he's just elegant. I think the way that he plays, the positions that he picks up, the weight of pass that he delivers. On Ronaldo, to Jules' point, and as Jules correctly said there, there's no need for Ronaldo to cover 12, 13K. Play within the width of the 18-yard box. You've got all that talent to try and supply him. If you supply him with chances, he'll score goals, but you're relying on a guy who's close to 40. Why would you try and make him run big distances? But Vitinha, to me, was sensational.
He was given man of the match, Don, apparently, so someone at least agrees with you. Shaka, overall, were Portugal better or worse than what we thought going into the start of this tournament?
Well, coming into the tournament, Portugal were favourites, and on this performance, they didn't look that. But that, with all the criticism, they won.
Right.
And you take that, oftentimes the first game of international tournaments are always fairly cagey affairs because certainly the weaker team, are prepared to put up a more stern rear guard without really venturing forward. So it's always a test. And then the other side to that is why you don't play well, scoring in the 92nd minute always makes things feel a whole lot bigger than they actually are. It feels like you've ground the results out, you've got momentum on your side, and you just take away a little bit more. So all in all, not a great start considering what we were expecting, but you take it for what it is, and I think it feels a whole lot bigger than the struggle of the 90 minutes that maybe it was.
Do you think we'll see the same starting 11, Jules, next time out for Portugal, or Roberto Martinez look at this and feels that he needs to make changes?
I hope not. I hope we don't see it again, because really, to go back to what Ali said earlier, I didn't really understand the starting lineup to start with. Cancelo in that kind of midfield position with a bit of freedom, but not so much. Then suddenly that midfield became quite congested. Cancelo, Bruno Fernandes, who was asked to play quite deep in that first half, especially. Vitinha, we said was outstanding, but Vitinha is so good. Just let him. This is his position. Let him there. Let Bruno play a bit higher. Don't give me that Cancelo in midfield. It doesn't really make much sense. Bernardo Silva on the right, find him a better place because, as we said, on the right, maybe not the right fit for him right now, certainly in a tournament like this. And even some of the first substitutions, forget about Conceição. He brought him in 100 seconds later. He scored a goal. Great. But even before that, to go to the back three, even that didn't really work so much and didn't really make much sense either. So I think Martinez has a lot of work to do with himself and his staff to sort out what tactically he really wants to do with those players. And it's not easy because there's so many options, so much talent. We've said that for many shows now. So I get it. But that at the start didn't make sense, didn't work. So I don't want to see that again for sure.
Neto might be the change. Bring Neto in for Rafa Leão.
Right.
Because I think when Neto gets the ball, he's got the ability. Well, both of them have to be fair, but I think Neto, when he's on it, it's a lot more consistent. And you're trying to find chances for Ronaldo. Neto might be the player, as we saw from his assist when he came on, that he can go past players with a turn of pace and skill that might be able to get Ronaldo more chances.
Well, the other question is, Cristiano Ronaldo went 90 minutes today. Is he going 90?
Oh, yeah. Look, he was smiling at the anthem, Ali, and he was high-fiving the kids. He's in a good place.
Hey, I'm trying to...
He's smiling.
If indeed he's our best player for Portugal, if indeed he's the guy that's going to score the goals, it's still no denying that the guy is a little older than he used to be, and so therefore, maybe you want to save his legs at some point. The time to do it is in the group stage, not in the knockouts.